Well, hello everyone. Welcome to a special Q&A vlog slash stream. I actually just finished up a game that I was playing for the last month a little early. I got some extra time on stream today and I said, hey, let's just open this up and do a little bit of Q&A and see what people have on their minds. And that's literally what we're doing right now. So if anyone wants to ask me a question, please tag me in the chat at DSPGaming and we'll go from there. Andy starts up with the game being crossplay. What made you switch from playing Street Fighter 6 on the Xbox to the PlayStation 5? Honestly, from my experience, I believe that both versions are pretty equivalent when it comes to online performance, input delay, and stuff. Maybe there's like a negligible difference. For me, number one, almost everyone who plays fighting games on console plays them on PS5. Reason being is last console generation, PS4 was the dominant console. So I get the feeling that in the future, there's going to end up being certain versions of games and the like that you're going to want to play on PS5 over other versions. With Street Fighter 6, that's not necessarily the case, I would say. For example, if Mortal Kombat 1 had been good, which it wasn't, okay? But if Mortal Kombat 1 had been good, it wasn't cross-platform at launch. To my knowledge, is it even cross-platform now? I mean, this is, what, 4 or 5 months later? Still don't think it is, right? And so if I wanted the bigger player pool for future fighting games, it has to be PS5, right? So I wanted a better joystick, and I bought this PS5 joystick, which is really good. I like this stick a lot. It's the Obsidian, the Conba Obsidian 2, right? I like the joystick. It's PS5, PS4, PS5, and PC. And so this gives me flexibility to play all fighting games on PS5 and PC, right? Not every fighting game will be cross-platform. And if they're not, I'm going to want to play them all on that main platform that gets the most play. So, honestly, with Street Fighter 6, did I have to switch from Xbox to PS5? No. I could have kept playing it on Xbox. But, because I wanted to get a better joystick and I wanted it the one that would be able to be used more flexibly for the most games in the future, that's why I got that PS5 stick, and that's why I switched consoles. Okay? Shout out to Joe Man with a 31-month member notification. Says, been gone, coming to say, hope all is well. Happy New Year's. Happy to you, Joe Man. It's good to have you here. I hope you had a great holiday. And I welcome you back to the streams. I also received a $1.12 tip. Now that we're done with RoboCop, does this mean we could do Pizza Tower? No, it's like I said, we are going to begin with Resident Evil 0 Remake starting this Tuesday, which was going to be the next and final stream of RoboCop. And we'll just get a little head start on that. Now, here's the thing. Over the month of January, here's my focus. Baldur's Gate 3 is the major focus for the month. I want to get as far as I can before we get to Like a Dragon Infinite and Tekken 8 at the end of January. I want to get as far as I can in Baldur's Gate 3, okay? But outside of that, we're going to balance that with Resident Evil 0 Remake. We're going to have Sea of Stars at night and probably mixing in some multiplayer of Street Fighter or maybe some Modern Warfare 3 here or there. Now, these games are not that long. Both Resident Evil 0 Remake and Sea of Stars are not super lengthy games. I think on average like 20 hours, I think, for Sea of Stars and 10 hours for Resident Evil. So if we do finish Resident Evil within, say, a week or two, a couple weeks here, right? There's potential that then we could then do something else. And if Pizza Tower seems to be something in demand, then possibly that will be something that I'll play. We'll see if that's really what people want. You know, I'm open to suggestions. So, okay. Let's see here. Could go mousy on the light stream tonight like a dragon. Sounds good. I was very surprised at how RoboCop was. I did not expect RoboCop to be that good, honestly. Like, I didn't even know the game existed. And then all of a sudden, what was it, early November, was it came out? People started telling me, oh my god, no, you guys have no idea, it's so good. And I was like, yeah, but I didn't even hear about it. And we were in the midst of all these other high-profile playthroughs. But that's the good thing, because my viewership likes to suggest games to me, right? Thank you to all of you who suggest stuff to me all the time. It allows me to know what's kind of a buzz in the community. And this is a game that went right under everyone's radar, and a few people tried it, realized it was good, shared that information, it went further and further, right? And now that I played it, I loved it. 20 hours, and I loved every moment. Seriously, the upgrade trees, everything was funny, writing, everything was great. So, yeah, surprisingly good, and I cannot wait to play more. It's going to be great. What's a video game franchise I want to come back? Infamous and BioShock. Infamous and BioShock would be great to come back. Nosy Real Vibe says, do you think we need to bring back 80s and 90s and modern day more consistently, or should they stay in the past? It all depends on what you mean. Some things obviously are outdated and should stay in the past, and some things were entertaining. Like the 80s were a time when a lot of comedies and stuff were pretty fun and irreverent, and today you don't really see that kind of shit anymore. You know, maybe that stuff should come back. The 80s, a lot of original ideas came out that were like, whoa, I didn't know that would work, but I can't believe it did, right? Gremlins, Short Circuit, reboot, right? Predator, reboot. I meant to say Short Circuit, Ghostbusters, Predator. You could think of all these original franchises that all came out in the 80s. And today, all they do is keep rebooting them, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they just announced Short Circuit 3 or Short Circuit Reboot for 2025. If they did that today, I'd be like, get it. Aren't they making a Gremlins 3? I'm not even shitting you. I think they're actually making Gremlins 3 right now. But that's the point I'm making is it seems like all the things from the 80s were original, and today it's just everything's a rehash of what they already did back in the 80s. So I played Resident Evil 7 Remastered. I started in January of 2016. Okay? And I continued on over the year. I don't think I finished it right away, but I played it for a bit and then put it on hiatus. I think I went back to it. But, I mean, it's going to be 8 years. 8 years since I played the game now that we're going to start it up. So, it should be pretty cool to do Resident Evil 0 with face cam, an interactive audience, a different style, better better capture, better everything. Is going to be much better than the 8-year-old playthrough when it was just kind of me playing it, ignoring everyone, no face cam, nothing, nothing on the screen at all, just the game. You know, I think it's going to be much better. Andy Young says, I'll be out tomorrow for New Year's Eve festivities. Will you be uploading the full stream for members like you have been doing for the React show? What do you mean, Andy? Tomorrow, I'm doing a podcast. I'm doing the React show, which will be archived. And then tomorrow night, I'm doing Sea of Stars. And all that stuff will be uploaded. And the archive stream of the React show will go live, just like always. So I don't really know what you're asking there. We played Return to Arkham Collection. We played 1 and 2, correct? We played both Arkham City and Arkham Asylum in the Return to Arkham Collection. We played both games. Arkham City was during that time when everyone was trying to get their PS5 pre-orders in that summer or whatever, or that fall. And then we just did Arkham Asylum a year or two ago, right? Would I consider playing more old backwards compatible games on Xbox Series X when there's free time? I don't know. You have to give suggestions. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, if you have an idea of some older games, sure. Keep in mind, I now have a mini PC that could probably play mid-range, modern games, or even many older games that are sitting there on Steam. I can now play those. I have a lot of new options now. The Gremlins 3 movie is rumored to be called Gremlins 3 Curse of the Mogwai. Oh, boy. No, I never played Alone in the Dark games back in the day. I played that one. There was an Alone in the Dark game that came out really early when I was a YouTuber. And I played it and thought it was terrible. It was full of bugs and issues with clipping and falling into bottomless pits and just dumb shit. And I really didn't like it. I did beat it, but I was really frustrated by it. But that was one of the early playthroughs that I did, if I remember. Pillow Pants asks me, out of the 3 recent Like a Dragon games I played, Ishin, Yakuza 7, or Gaiden, which is my favorite? Yakuza 7. I mean, come on. It's a giant game. It's the one that transitioned the Yakuza series into Like a Dragon, which is a turn-based RPG now. It has way more content, better plot. Definitely Yakuza 7. Andy says, I only recently saw members can see the whole archive streams for the React show. I won't be here live. I will watch the whole archive. There you go. Yes, that's always been a feature of members over on my sister channel, DSP Reacts. If you're a member, you can always watch the archive as soon as it goes offline. It's there for you to watch. You don't have to wait all week for the video. So that will continue. That's not going away. What do I think is responsible for movies generally sucking now opposed to the 80s and 90s? Like I just said, lack of originality, lack of talent. What happens in Hollywood, it becomes more about what will be more marketable and make more profit rather than what actually is entertaining or creative or artistic. So you end up getting the same cookie cutter cutout style movie over and 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 over to the point where you just don't want to see it again. But it's still, you know, how many Fast and fucking Furious movies will they ever make? They're all the same fucking movie. And they're all terrible. But idiots go watch it. I mean, so many of them. Why would you keep going to watch that franchise? Like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, and then Ninja Turtles, I hate to say it, listen, I liked the Ninja Turtles when I was a kid. All right? I'm 42 years old, or about to be. I don't care about Ninja Turtles anymore. Why is there the 18th reboot of Ninja Turtles? How about we do something original that's not fucking Ninja Turtles again? You know? Do something that is worth credit rather than biting off of the ideas of the past that others have done and just regurgitating them dozens of times. But that's the problem. I don't think there is talent anymore. A lot of that talent has gone away, right? So that's Hollywood today, man. You see the same thing with video games today, where these companies don't want to take chances, don't want to do anything original. We got to make a looter shooter. We got to make a co-op online battle royale game. We got to do this. You know, they're always, what existing genre with zero originality does our game that we're about to make, a brand new one, fit into? How about you just make your own new thing rather than trying to copy everybody else, right? Then maybe I'd like your game instead of, I feel like I'm playing a game I've already played 12 times already, you know? Yeah, and then there's the fact that, like, for example, so Ghostbusters. And Ghostbusters 1 and 2 were great movies in the 1980s, you know, early 90s. They still kind of persisted, even though there was no new content. People still loved the Ghostbusters. For the longest time, people wanted Ghostbusters 3, and I guess what happened was the actors were against it. Certain actors didn't want to be involved in it. So then eventually there was no Ghostbusters 3, and then Harold Ramis passed away, and it seemed like it was never going to happen. But then they decided to reboot Ghostbusters in 2016 with the all-female cast, and it was so fucking bad that there was a monstrous demand for Ghostbusters 3. So then they made Ghostbusters Afterlife, and technically, even though that really is Ghostbusters 3, it's kind of not, because what people have said, I didn't see it yet, I want to see it, is that it's a bridge between, like, the old Ghostbusters plot and a new generation of Ghostbusters that are about to emerge. So now this new movie coming out in March is supposed to actually technically be Ghostbusters 3, where it actually has the original remaining surviving Ghostbusters. So Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson will all be in it. And then also this new generation of Ghostbusters from Afterlife, it's going to be the movie where they all merge and they're all trying to save New York City together, and it's probably going to be the passing of the torch. So that's cool, because here's something that people have wanted for like 25 years and never happened, to the point where the people who own the rights to Ghostbusters decided to ruin it, and because they ruined it so badly, there was so much demand for the real thing to happen. Now the real thing is happening. You see, that's a little different than, say, the 72nd version of Ninja Turtles, where they just won't leave them alone and keep rebooting them differently. You see? I saw Lost in Translation way, like, when I was in my early 20s, and I liked the movie, but admittedly, like, it's hard for me to connect with a movie like that because I was so young, but I still liked the movie. I don't know if I watched Lost in Translation today if it would mean something different to me. Yes, I know. Andy says in the UK they were called Teenage Mutant Ninja Hero Turtles, not Ninja Turtles, because they thought ninja meant violence, and they actually didn't have nunchucks. They edited them out to make them something different. It was a grapple hook. I remember eventually they changed it too. At the end of the run of Ninja Turtles, Michelangelo no longer had nunchucks. They gave him a grappling hook instead, which is incredibly stupid. Sith, I don't know anything about that. I can't answer your question because I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know who that is. I said Harold Ramis. Oops. So the remaining Ghostbusters would be Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson. You know, sadly we lost Harold Ramis many years ago. I believe it was to cancer, which sucks. He was a great talent. He was a good writer, a good director, a good actor. Like, everything he did was comedic genius in the 80s and somewhat in the 90s as well. And for him to not be available now because he's passed to actually continue the legacy of Ghostbusters really sucks. Okay. Oh, Jeff Kaplan was the Overwatch dev who left because he hated the management under Bobby Kotick. Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I don't follow it that much. Again, I liked Overwatch. I wasn't a super fan or anything after that first year of playing it. I never played it again, so I don't even know that story. Excuse me. All right, Derek, I'll see you tonight. Bye-bye. What else you guys want to chat about today? Like, anything you guys want, man. I'm open. We got time. This was unexpected. I really didn't think we were beating RoboCop that fast. I thought maybe we'd beat it today. I didn't think we would have all this extra time. You know, honestly, I probably would have planned something else out, or I would have purposefully made RoboCop a night stream if I had known that. Like, I probably would have done it tomorrow night. I had no idea that we were going to blow through it. I probably would have played more Baldur's Gate today if I had known that. What's up, SB? How you doing? Am I expected to beat Like a Dragon tonight? Unlikely. From what my wife told me, it's about 3 hours of story left in the game. And I want to beat the 4 Kings, which are the optional Coliseum fights for the side story. So probably minimum 2 more streams. Maybe 3. It really depends on how long the Coliseum stuff takes. I guess we'll see. My favorite ice cream, I rarely eat ice cream. Almost never. You know, when I was a kid, everything chocolate. Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. So I would always eat chocolate ice cream. And then I would get, like, when we would get something special, we'd like the Ben & Jerry's ice cream that's chocolate with, like, brownie pieces in it and stuff like that. If I went to Dairy Queen, usually I would get a Blizzard that had candy blended into it. But they used to have a hot fudge Blizzard at my local Dairy Queen. I have no idea if they actually make that anywhere else. But all they would do is take the soft serve Blizzard and blend in actual hot fudge into it. So it would it would taste so good. It would, like, super duper good. And I used to get that. Today, I also liked 2 other kinds, mint chocolate chip, as well as pistachio ice cream. I really, really like. I was never one for fruity ice creams. I know a lot of people like, oh, I like strawberry. I like one that has chunks of cheesecake or fruit in it. I never really liked that. So, but today, if I were to get ice cream, I literally have no idea what I would get because I haven't had ice cream in so long. I don't even know what's available, being honest. Lucky Gremlin, you're welcome. He says, thanks for playing RoboCop. I really enjoyed it. I did too. Like I said, shockingly good game. Like, surprisingly good. Didn't expect it to be anywhere near that good. Happy that you guys suggested it to me so that I could enjoy it and not miss it this year. I'm very curious because next week is my year-end series. So next week I got my Game of the Year awards. I don't know what I'm going to put in it yet. Like, I really need to sit down and look at every playthrough I did this year and rank the best ones and see, you know, I don't know, will RoboCop make it in there? It might. I don't know if it will, though, because I can't really recall the best games off the top of my head. So I really need to sit down and look and think and rank and work on that. And see, cookie dough. Cookie dough is okay. I wouldn't want to eat a ton of cookie dough at all. I'm just not I'm not a raw cookie dough kind of guy. You know, I like chocolate chip cookies, but I don't want to just sit there and eat raw cookie dough. SF6 Jury, I have no idea what that means. So you can stop with nonsense. I don't know what that means. I just received a $5 tip from Slurpee. So what does it say here? Slurpee says, thank you for your gaming content. The Pacific Northwest is in Cascadia Subduction Zone, which is subject to earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic activity, and lahars. This can interrupt gaming. Stock up on power supplies, food, and redundant internet. Canned goods, sperm banking for possible repopulation, and water filtration are all important. Wow. Well, thanks for warning us on that. Lucky for me, I actually live at high elevation. I do. I live at the very top of a big ass, like, slowly elevating hill. So when there's things that happen, like when there's bad flooding and stuff, we are never affected. We get wet, but we never see a flood here because it all goes downhill. And the volcanic, like if a volcano erupted, we'd actually be okay. We're high enough up that it would actually go down into what they call the valley. That would be like the danger zone. If a volcano erupted, it would go down there. The problem we would have is air filtration, because if you have a volcano erupting, you're going to have soot in the air for weeks, and that could be very dangerous. But outside of that, we'd actually be all right in regards to the other stuff. Earthquakes, we don't really get. Every time these people say we claim we have one, I never feel it, ever. Like, I've never felt it once. Tsunamis, also another thing. Could tsunamis hit us? Yes, but I don't live near the water. So it's another thing that I'm kind of immune from. It wouldn't really affect me. So I kind of got a good spot where I live. Nah, Andy, no real plans for New Year's Eve or anything special. We always have plans every year for Christmas. But the thing is, you know, Kat, over the years, with different jobs and different things, sometimes she has to work, sometimes she doesn't. In fact, she has to work on New Year's Day. So we don't usually make plans for New Year's or anything like that. It's like a normal night, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day for us. Maybe we'll sit down, we'll watch the ball drop, have a drink. I don't know. It's not a big plan or anything. So, no, I didn't hear news about an asteroid coming incredibly close to Earth in 2029. No, I did not. G Fuel will never contact me to do a flavor, so I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to think about those kind of things. Sponsorships are never going to happen, so don't have to worry about that. Mezcal is a vast category of spirits from agave and tequila, and a small subset of mezcal, like bourbon, is kind of whiskey or Chardonnay. Oh, I had no idea what that was. Never heard of it, SF6 Jerry. Not once have I ever heard of that. To me, mezcal might as well be like a football player from the Spanish national team or something. I don't know what the hell. Never heard of it. Mr. Plow, you don't seem to understand what I'm saying. He's like, well, basically what Mr. Plow said was, if G Fuel contacted you and we're going to make your own flavor of G Fuel, what would you name it and what would it be tasting like? I don't have an answer because it would never happen. Therefore, I don't waste time putting any kind of effort into thinking for an answer of something that would never happen, right? That's like saying if aliens ever landed on the planet, walked out of the spaceship and said, we're about to kill you all, but they had testicles here, here, or here, which testicle would I strike first? I don't care. It's never going to happen. I don't have to think about it. I don't waste time on that. I really don't. Mezcal is really strong. Oh, interesting. Now people are really confused. But you understand what I'm saying? It's just a hypothetical that will never happen. I don't waste time thinking about hypotheticals that could never happen. Just like when people say to me right now, if you had infinite money, infinite time, and infinite to do whatever you wanted, what would you do? I don't know. I don't care. I don't waste time on that. Because if I thought about it, it's not ever going to happen. So that's just a complete waste of time and resources to even think about it. Why would I sit here and put intelligent thought into that? It doesn't make sense, right? What if right now you could travel anywhere in the world for a vacation? I can't go anywhere for a vacation. I don't have the money. I don't have the means. I can't take the time away from work. Why would I think about that? That's just how I am. That's how my mind works. That's correct. That Funk says you wasted more time talking about why it wouldn't happen than answering the question. You're right, but guess what? That was meaningful. Because when I told you that, now you know how my mind works, and you know don't ask me those silly questions in the future. Right? As opposed to, if you ask me a million silly questions, I give you a million silly answers, and every time I hate it because I'm wasting time, and it bothers me, now you know I don't waste time on that shit. Andy Young says, well, if aliens were landing on Earth and they said they were going to kill you and they had multiple testicles over their bodies, which testicle would you strike first? Whichever one was closest to me, strike distance. Because that's the quickest one to take effect. Or maybe two at once. That would be something. If you could strike the head testicle and the chest testicle at the same time, double testicle punch. Like, you ever seen that punch they do in martial arts? They go like double punch like that, maybe, whoo, and knock them back. There you go. What's for dinner? I think my wife is making baked chicken thighs that she breads. She has her own recipe, so we buy this like breading mix, but then she puts in her own seasoning and spices into it. She coats and breads it, bakes it in the oven, and just some green beans and mashed potatoes. I believe, anyway. I think. If I could time travel, would I go back in time or forward? Man, that's a tough question. Because, number one, time travel doesn't exist. Maybe it will one day. But I don't really think it matters. If you go forward in time, you're likely going to see a hypothetical that might not even happen, right? Because technically, just the fact of you going forward in time and knowing what's there might have you go back and change things. So, therefore, that future may never exist, right? If you go back in time, you chance changing things so now your present doesn't exist, so maybe you can't go back to your present, right? I mean, either one is incredibly risky and stupid. I guess technically if you go forward in time, that future is only a hypothetical future based on if you disappeared in your own time, right? But the moment that you go back in time again to go back to your present day, now you screw up that timeline, it doesn't exist anymore. So you're both simultaneously creating and destroying a timeline by going forward and back in time. If you go back in time, you can never actually go forward to your own time again. Because if you do, you've destroyed that timeline by going back in time. You've changed things, and it can never be the same when you go back to the present. Do you understand? So technically, if you go back in time, when you go back to the present will be irrevocably changed by your actions in the past. So if you go forward in time, you destroy this hypothetical forward timeline that will not exist anymore once you leave. If you go back in time, you destroy the present. Would you rather destroy the hypothetical future or the present? And you base your judgments on that, I guess. Right? Amazing. SBS, in my lifetime, I've thought about big-brained questions and big hypotheticals, like what's the meaning of life and what's this and that. What you find is that those are very good things to think about. They are. Because sometimes if you come to a determination for yourself, answers for those questions, they may guide you moving forward in your own life in the way that you behave. However, ultimately, you'll probably never find a definitive answer. It'll be more about what you come to the conclusion for yourself rather than what the real answer, if there is some big universal answer to the question, right? So you spend some time thinking about it, and then you just get back to your life. Because if you just sit around thinking about what's the meaning of life, you'll never be able to do the things in life to just maintain and stay alive, right? Like, you gotta go to work. You can't go to work all day and think about what's the meaning of life. You won't get your work done, and then you can't pay your bills, and then you die, so it doesn't matter what the meaning of life was because you're dead. See? There you go. Andy Young says, if you went forward in time, would you regret which testicle you struck? Would you go back in time to strike a different testicle instead? Maybe. What you do is you go enough loops in time that there's 3 of you in one timeline existing at once, and you each simultaneously punch one of the 3 testicles. So 3 of you, each right hand striking a testicle at once to defeat the aliens. There you go. No, I'm not buying The Last of Us remake or remaster. No, I'm not playing the no return mode. No, I have no plans to go back and play the game ever again. I just don't like it. There you go. You wish I would play Outer Wilds again? It was fun for when I played it, but ultimately a game like Outer Wilds is like, if you just want the ultimate time killer game and you don't care about having to do the loop 7,000 times, which is kind of annoying, honestly. I feel like Outer Wilds would be a better game if it didn't have the loop. Like, if you could just explore as much as you wanted and then solve a mystery, as opposed to, oh, so, you know, you're exploring this galaxy or this solar system, but you only have a set amount of time before it destroys, and then you got to fuck around again. I don't like that. I don't like that whole Groundhog Day style of being rushed. I think the game would be better if you weren't rushed. My take. So I think it's a fine game, but I'm probably never going to play it again. Any chance of using DJ? If you mean in Street Fighter 6, I tried him at launch. I didn't truly understand him whatsoever, and I just couldn't play with him. Now that we're like 7 months in, the fact that I understand dash cancels, the fact that I understand how his projectiles work and how all his up kicks are insanely good. Basically, all I would need to do is learn a few combos and basic strategies, and I could probably do pretty well with him. But at this point, like I told you guys, we played Street Fighter 6 for 7 months. I'm not learning new characters. At this point, there's no time. As you've seen, each time I learn a new character, it takes about a month. Dalsim took about 2 weeks of, 2-3 weeks of offline custom matches, casual matches, whatever you want to say. And then we went into ranked and played that for a couple of weeks. It takes too long. That's how these games are. They take tons of time investment. I just don't really have that time investment. Plus, the game's older now. People want me to move on and play other stuff like Tekken 8. So, unlikely. Like, I do think that if I did play DJ now and messed around and learned what are his great normals, what are his good combos, what are his dash cancel strategies, because his dash canceling is insane. His dash cancel is one of the best of the game, right? I'd probably do well, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that right now. So. I don't know when I'll play Arkham Knight. People keep asking. I don't know. I don't see any reason to go back and play Arkham Knight right now. I don't really have a desire to do that, right? Io Renz says, I've been watching your Far Cry 5 gameplay. What did you like about the playthrough? I don't really know. I don't remember. It was a while ago. I remember that was one that had planes and stuff you could fly around. That was kind of neat. But ultimately, Far Cry 4, 5, and 6 all kind of blend into each other as almost exactly the same game with a few minor tweaks or improvements here or there. But I don't really remember much that makes it stand out. You know what I'm saying? So I honestly can't answer the question. It's been too long, and I don't think there was that much there, right, for it that was like unique that it really stood out as something special. So I didn't like the story. I thought the ending of the story was terrible, by the way. I got a $2 tip from Greeky. What's your opinion on great movies like, for example, Ghostbusters and A Christmas Story, Gremlins having sequels? Like I said, here's the difference. If you are making a reboot or you're redoing something just for the sake of, because we want to keep milking this franchise for money, then I think it's not very good. If it's something that people have wanted for 100 years and never got, and now finally they're getting around to it, it's kind of your last chance because the people who were involved in the original project are freaking dying off, then maybe it makes sense. Like right now, this Ghostbusters movie coming out in March may actually be super emotional because likely this is going to be the final time you will ever see Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Ernie Hudson dress up like Ghostbusters and play those characters ever. That's it. Like we always thought, maybe we'll get it. And now we're getting it, but we also know this is not that movie of just about them. It's really about the transition to the new group of Ghostbusters from Ghostbusters Afterlife. So it's going to be very sad and emotional for those of us who grew up watching the Ghostbusters movies. Right? And I think that has some meaning behind it, does it not? I think so. Versus, look, it's the 17th reboot of Ninja Turtles. I don't want to see another version of Ninja Turtles. I've seen too many already. I don't care anymore. There's a big difference there. Have I grappled with the feeling my Street Fighter skills are declining? No, if you want to know the truth, Street Fighter today is way more complicated than it was when I used to play it back in the day competitively. You got to remember, those games I played in the 90s, those were basic. That's basic stuff. I mean, it takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of hand-eye coordination, but it's basic. This Street Fighter 6 is one of, if not the most complex Street Fighter game ever made. It's got insane amounts of knowledge needed, about all the different mechanics and the way that the game works. I would say the one thing it doesn't require, except for a couple characters, like I would say Chun-Li and maybe Aki and a few others do take a lot of hand-eye coordination and practice, but a lot of these characters are super easy to play compared to old Street Fighter. But really, it's more about having this awareness of all these different mechanics at once. I think it's harder to play Street Fighter 6 than it is to play the games I used to play in the 90s. So the fact that I can play Street Fighter 6 at any capacity and not just get spanked constantly by kids playing it. Because you know the vast majority of people I'm playing online are people like in their teens and 20s, right? Like, you know that. These are not fucking 40-year-olds like me I'm facing. These are people much younger than me. And the fact that I'm beating them and hanging with them actually is a testament to the fact that I can actually play games at a good level if I care. A lot of times I just don't care. I don't care to play Call of Duty and master it. You know, I just don't give a shit. It's a fuck around game for me. You know what I'm saying? For Street Fighter, I do feel like that's something that no matter what iteration it is, if I actually put in the time and effort, I can do well. This game, I'm doing better at Street Fighter 6 today than comparatively when I was playing these games back in the 90s and 2000s. I'm being honest. Like, I would say the only time in my career of Street Fighter that I was maybe a little better was that very peak, tippity top 2006, 2007 when I was playing Super Turbo at that high competitive level. That was probably the best I've ever been. Right now is by far the second best I've ever been at Street Fighter. So there you go. Oh, let's see here. Andy says, with Toy Story 5, Pixar has literally admitted they're making it just because they had a massive loss in profits. In reality, it should have ended at 3. There you go. I mean, yeah, 3 had a perfectly good ending. It absolutely did. That very well could have been just the ending, and it was very emotional and everything. You kind of feel cheated when you watch Toy Story 4. Not to say Toy Story 4 is a bad movie, but you feel cheated when you're watching it, and you're like, dude, all that emotion I felt at the end of 3 was a waste of time. Right? You feel like, wow, they really kind of messed us and jerked at our heartstrings for no reason. I can't believe that they're making a 5. Like, I really can't. I think it's really stupid. That's really dumb. Fightcade is not off the table. I just said we're not doing it now. There's no point to doing Fightcade when we have less than a month until Tekken 8. Why put effort into setting up and learning how to use this Fightcade, starting to get good at retro games, then not playing them for months because I'm playing Tekken 8? Right? There's no point. I received another $5 tip from Brian. Last year, most of the people who watch would have said that either Elden Ring or God of War would have been your game of the year. Do you feel this year it's more up in the air? There's no clear favorite. What do you guys think? I don't know. Like, in my mind, I'll be honest, I don't want to spoil, so I'm not going to say anything. But in my mind, I can probably think of a handful of games that I'm considering for Game of the Year pick. Right? I would probably say there's maybe 5 games this year that come to mind that stand out as Game of the Year for me. I think you guys just can't tell, right? If anything, because I don't review games right after I finish them, this has started to build some big suspense about what games I think are great or aren't, you know? Like, if you take a look, we already looked into these things. Arguably, the game I played the more this, or not arguably, factually, the game I played the most this year was Street Fighter 6. Does that mean Street Fighter 6 is Game of the Year? Does it? I played it more than anything, right? What was the best RPG of the year? Well, you gotta think hard about that, because there were quite a few. There were some that were really good. There were some that were incredibly underwhelming. Baldur's Gate 3 now I've played for about 28 hours. Is that true? 27 hours and climbing. You know, I'm going to be playing it 2 more streams this week before I get to my Game of the Year awards. If I play the game 30 to 35 hours, does that mean that it's a contender for Game of the Year? I didn't beat it. Can it be a Game of the Year contender? I don't know. Right? What about other games? What other games stood out this year? You got to think about all this in your head. Like, right? What were some of the best games and playthroughs of the year? What ones did I really like? What ones didn't I like? So, you know, you be the judge for yourself. But I think this year's Game of the Year awards will be a little bit more interesting because there's no clear front runner that, like, I know that's what Phil's going to pick. I don't think anyone even knows that, right? And that's good. That's why I like doing it this way. When I used to do my Game of the Year awards, the funny part was, for as many people were excited for them, most of my hardcore fans already knew the answer. They already know what game was my Game of the Year and what other ones. Like, they already knew because they saw my reviews for the year. What, do you think I'm going to give a game a 9 out of 10 and then say, oh, it sucks later on in the year? Of course not. So if you were watching my old game reviews, you would already know, right? Toro! This is one of my cleaning cloths. I'm just trying to shake out any dust and refold it. I think there will be some games on the disappointing games list that most people don't expect to be there because maybe either you didn't know how disappointed I was or maybe you've forgotten about them. I think also there will possibly be some games on my Game of the Year countdown that you're not expecting too. Let's just put it that way. Because, I don't know, I think a lot of people, when they think Game of the Year, they literally only think about what are the giant games, right? That's not necessarily the truth of the matter. The best games of the year don't have to be giant. They don't have to be overhyped. They don't have to have a giant production budget. They don't have to have insane internet hype that everyone's tweeting and talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I guess we'll see. Do I use product in my hair? No. Absolutely not. This morning I woke up and I washed my hair with shampoo conditioner, and that's it. That's all I did. I had a brush and I went zoop, 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 just like real quick. Done. No product. And it stays? Yeah, look. Because I have a different kind of hair than probably you do. I don't have thin, wispy hair. My hair is actually thicker because I have Italian heritage, and Italians usually have much thicker hair than a lot of other people. So my hair actually is a little bit greasier and thicker than most. Mm-hmm. Well, that always happens. Sith says, man, I forgot you played that game Wolong. Yeah, people always forget the games from early in the year. That always happens. By the end of the year, like most people probably completely forgot Hogwarts Legacy existed until you say it, and they're like, oh yeah, that was really popular earlier this year, right? You're like, huh? Yeah, it was huge. It was the biggest game. The playthrough did incredibly well. People loved the playthrough and were going crazy for it. And now it's like, oh, that game existed? Yeah, and it wasn't even a year ago. Yeah, it was February. Oh my goodness. Well, we have about 10 minutes left, everybody. I want to say thanks. You've been a great audience today for RoboCop and for this impromptu Q&A video. I hope that you're enjoying. You check out hidden survivor horror games on the PS1 and PS2 instead of usual Silent Hills and Resident Evils. I don't know what you mean. What would be hidden gems of silent horror games I never played? I don't know. Like I said, now that I have a mini PC and I can play, pretty much any game off of Steam around mid settings, this opens me up to the realm of possibility of many games that were always off the table. I've always wanted to go and play a lot of survival horror and things that I didn't have access to, but a lot of the times they either weren't even on the digital marketplace at all, or I would have to play like an emulated PS1 version as played on PS3 through the PS3 through PSN. I haven't had a working PS3 in like 3 years, right? So it just it takes it off the table for me. I don't have that opportunity to really do anything. Certain stuff. If you have suggestions, give me those suggestions. And my team, Charles Xavier or Magneto, I would say back in the day when that was first presented as a possibility, I wasn't reading X-Men. I think originally it was like, I want to say late 70s, early 80s, when really the mutants in the X-Men comic book started going into factions, like the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants versus the X-Men. What's weird is they called it the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, but a lot of the times they tried to present it as if they weren't evil. Then why did they call themselves evil? It's kind of weird, right? Later on, one of the better plot lines was the Chris Claremont X-Men, where during that era when they were rebooting X-Men to have its own new title, Magneto went off and started a group called the Acolytes. So this wasn't supposed to be like evil, but they were supposed to be a splinter group of people who just wanted to be left alone, but were for like mutant supremacy, essentially. Like they felt like mutants were better and the humans mistreat mutants, and so they should be treated a bit better and stuff like that. And it almost presented it like a human rights argument. Like the X-Men are, okay, we understand why people don't trust us and like us, so we have to train ourselves at a special academy to be responsible, so now we're responsible with the use of our powers. While Magneto was like, these humans mistreat us like shit, we should be able to do whatever we want with our powers, right? And they don't really have a right to tell us what to do with our lives. Who are they? Why do they think they're better than us? They don't even have the powers we do. And there really was this big philosophy difference between Charles Xavier and Magneto, who was right and who was wrong. And over the years, you even saw other X-Men defect. Like, remember when Colossus defected to the Acolytes and he left the X-Men? That was a big plot. Like, oh my God, Colossus, who's been a staple of the X-Men for like 20 years, has just left him to join Magneto and stuff like that. But when I read the comics, it was more presented that the X-Men were correct, and really, like, the Acolytes or the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants were just that. They were wrong. They were kind of being irresponsible and stuff like that. So when I read the comics, I would say I would be pro X-Men. But they've been so many different reiterations and changes and extrapolations on that plot line over the last 20, 30 years, I really don't know what they are. So I can't really answer as to present-day X-Men what the answer would be. I have to play catch-up, which I'm not going to do. So, would I ever try Phantom Liberty? No. You can stop asking. I've only answered that question 5 zillion times that I'm not playing Cyberpunk again. Cyber says, I hope eventually Fightcade will get a stream or two. Fightcade will 100,000% get played. Alright? Now, I don't know to what capacity, because I don't know about ease of use. I don't know about what's going to happen in regards to stopping trolling. I don't know who's going to accept my matchup requests. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have no idea. But I want to at least give it a shot. I want to at least play those retro fighting games because I love them, you know? Sadly, I get the feeling it's because it is not done professionally. This is not a for-profit style thing. It's not something you paid for that was designed to work on your console. It's going to be messy. I get the feeling it will be. I get the feeling it's going to be like hard to find matches. You get a match, it lags, the guy fucking cheats and pulls the plug and shit. You get trolls and idiots who are trying to waste everyone's time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get the feeling no matter what, it's going to be not ease of use like it is if this thing's designed in a collection on a console. I'll still give it a shot. I want to play retro fighting games. I just don't know how viable it's going to be with Fightcade. So, last day of the year for you, Mark. Well, happy early new year. He says, my PS3 died this year. I got a Sega Saturn and Sony PS2 when I was in Japan. I posted them back to Australia. They're in my gaming room now. Saturn is one of those unsung heroes where it was so short-lived, at least in the United States, it was less than a year. Most people never got one or knew about it, but it had a lot of great titles on it. So, it's a shame, you know. I think it actually would have done pretty good if the situation or circumstances were different. Andy Young says, am I returning to Phasmophobia? Again, that's something for you guys to determine. I own it now. I can play it whenever I want. You guys saw my attempt at trying to play it during the Christmas marathon. Like, I could not get into a lobby with anybody. No, I'm not going to go out of my way to buy equipment to play it, so I'm not buying a fucking microphone to play it or anything. You know, so I guess we'll see what happens with that, but I don't know. The funny part was when I played Phasmophobia, it was about 90 minutes, right? I had fun with it, all right? I did the best I could. I didn't know how to play it, so I had to do the tutorial. The tutorial, I couldn't even finish it because I didn't have a mic. So then I tried to play online. That didn't work. I tried to play solo. That was boring. But I tried to be funny. I tried to make silly commentary and just joke around. And then you get people who watch the video and they leave comments, oh my God, he's such an asshole. He ruined this experience. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? How did I ruin anything? All I did was play the game you asked for. Whenever in my entire career of 15 years did I do research for a game? Did I say that I was going to do co-op games properly? Like, if you go out of your way to nominate a game that you know is not my style, who's to blame? The person who made that style of video for 15 years, or the person who knows I made that style for video for 15 years, but still nominates something that's not that style? You know what I'm saying? That'd be the same as like, so you nominated, you know, a baseball game, and then I played it during the Christmas marathon, and I sucked at it and didn't do much, but I just joked around instead. You're mad that I didn't actively play the baseball game well. I fucking don't play baseball games. How would I do that within my first 1 hour segment during a marathon? It doesn't make any logical sense. But that's how people are. You know what I'm saying? So, if people wanted that, we would have to talk about it. But I'm telling you, I'm not going crazy with prep. I'm not buying mics. I don't care about online co-op. I don't. So, you're asking me to play something that I know I don't care about. So, how well do you think it's going to do? Right? I'm just saying. Okay. See, that's the thing. Like, I feel like I can take any kind of game and make entertaining content out of it. I do feel that. Like, if you watch that Phasmophobia 90 minutes, I actually think it's entertaining because my commentary, I'm kind of, you know, I'm razzing the game, I'm joking, I'm making fun. I think that's entertaining to see. If you're a super fan of the game and you were expecting super serious gameplay, you're probably pissed. Why did you think that was going to happen during a Christmas marathon when I'm drinking and not going to learn the game? Right? So, I feel like I could do well with any kind of game. Just don't expect it to be a serious playthrough. That's not what that was supposed to be to begin with, right? It never was. Just like, look at The Grinch. Did I fucking take that seriously? Of course I didn't. I guess it's a good thing I didn't because, man, if I was planning on playing that seriously, it really was boring, right? I spent $30 on The Grinch, by the way. $30 stinking dollars on that game. Do you think that was worth it? I don't think so. Alright, guys, last chance for a question or two before we adjourn. Play Fashion Designer on the Switch. Sounds great. Do I ever fantasize about streaming on Kick? No. No. What would... from what I'm to understand on Kick, there is zero moderation. So can you imagine the day I turn to stream on Kick? Immediately you get 10,000 trolls show up to the stream and just completely destroy the chat. So no one with a brain could speak. It would just be this insane, toxic, nonsensical stuff spammed nonstop. And harmful stuff too, because you know people would be doxing people and doing fucked up things. So it wouldn't even be worth it. Like, why would I stream on Kick when they don't allow you to have any kind of control, right? That would be pretty harmful to people. So I don't see how that would ever happen. No, there's no New Year's event. We just did a Christmas one. There won't be any events for a bit. You know, maybe the next event would actually be like a Super Bowl event like we did last year. Remember the Super Bowl event we did? People really liked it. We'll probably do something similar to that again. That'll probably be the next big event. I'll have to look into when the Super Bowl is in 2024. I haven't yet. Typically, it's first or second week of February, right? That would be good timing for a special marathon, I think. Lucky Gremlin, no. What? Here's the thing. People keep giving me hypotheticals about going back to Twitch that will never happen, right? Twitch already doesn't like me. There's no reason for them to ever have kicked me out of their partner program. They literally had no justification. When I asked them for the justification, they denied me. They basically said they didn't need to give me any proof of any wrongdoing. They could do whatever they wanted. So once you get that answer from a company that's supposed to be professional, you no longer deal with that company. You understand? If the company is literally saying on a whim at any moment, we can decide to just turn off your ability to make money with a business just because we feel like it. We don't have to prove you did anything wrong or violated any policy or rule set. We can just arbitrarily turn you off. That's when you stop doing business with that company. There's no realm of reality where me going back to Twitch would result in me making more money than what I make here on YouTube. It's impossible. You see? So there's no point at all for me to ever go back to Twitch. It's a waste of time. The only time I would ever go back to Twitch is temporarily if something happened here on YouTube and I couldn't stream, but I wanted to keep making content, maybe as just a filler, a temporary thing, and then I would have to find somewhere else to go. But it wouldn't, I'm telling you right now, I would not go full-time back to Twitch ever. That would be a complete waste of time. Okay. Guys, it is time for us to adjourn, shall we? I would say thank you. This was a great impromptu, almost hour Q&A stream. I hope you enjoyed. If you watched on demand, I hope you enjoyed. And a good filler. I like when people come out just to hang out with me. You know, it's something different. It's a different vibe. It's just kind of, you know, there's zero pressure. Just kind of answering questions and having a good time. No agenda or things to get through like I do on my podcast. It was nice. I thank you all for being here. Those who hung around, those who watched on demand, those who supported. Peace. Until another time when we have dead time, I'm always happy to do this. See you then.